listening to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three relatively grown men binge the iconic HBO series Sex and the City. So dust off those DVDs and grab yourself a white wine or even a Cosmopolitan and settle in. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three guys are watching romantic comedies for the first time ever, mostly. I'm Cory Cavin.
I'm Kevin Doyle.
My name's Jon Sieber.
I thought about that one in the shower this morning, but I was about to say rom coms, and in the shower I was like, you got to say romantic comedies.
Yeah, there was a little bit of like a
romantic
romantic comedies.
Raoul's comedies.
That's right. We are coming at you from part 2 of My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And Kevin, before we were recording, you were scrolling the phone and said you have some Corbett tidbits. Some cord bits.
Cory termed it a
Corbett.
A Corbett.
Oh,
Yeah.
This seems like the type of energy that John Corbett brings around him. Listen to this. He's just at a bar.
Okay. When is this? Like recently?
This is 2000. This is before My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Okay.
And he's just like shooting Serendipity, where he plays like a rock and roll Middle Eastern clarinet player.
Excuse me?
Did you see me post that on Instagram?
Yeah, but I had no idea what that was from. Like,
It's from Serendipity. He plays Kate Beckinsale's like kind of boyfriend who's like touring, and he's just like plays world music, which
like Yanni,
like Yanni,
the
like
Greek
Yanni.
freak. To tie it all back to My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Is
Yeah.
Yanni the Greek freak?
I think so, right?
I don't know.
Is Yanni's Greek?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up.
Could be.
He's a Yanni type character, maybe a little more rock and roll Yanni, and he has like a little more like chill energy, but he's definitely playing like a bit of a goofball. Like he's not playing like that. Hey, what's up, sweetie? He's more aloof than that. So he's in Toronto, and he's just at a bar, just saying, "Oh, I read this script from My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and I'm pretty upset I can't make auditions," because he really wanted to audition for it. And then the producer overheard him. He was there in Toronto doing pre-production.
What?
And on the spot walked up to him and was like, "You want the role? You got the role."
Whoa.
What?
Yeah.
When he was on Serendipity?
He was filming Serendipity.
That's crazy.
And that right there is
It's
Serendipity.
Serendipity.
But who? So I'm trying to understand who in a movie set has the ability to just walk up to someone without talking to anyone and just
Gary Goatsman.
Goatsman?
The Goats Man?
The Goatsman, dude.
Dude.
You run into Goatsman in a bar, you're walking out with a roll.
So-
9 times out of 10.
Gary Goatsman.
Other time out of 10, walking out with a goat.
Yeah.
Why? Because he's the goats man. So multiple goats.
But it's like, does any producer have the power to do that? Or is he like the Uber producer or something
He's
like that?
So he runs Playtone for Tom Hanks.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like the guy on top of Tom Hanks.
So they must have been talking previously. Like Corbett's name must have been in consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they didn't have text messaging back then, but you have to imagine he went back in the room and he was like, "Get me on a 3-way call with Hanks and Nia Vardalos.
Yeah.
I'm here with John Corbett."
Yeah. That is
at
a
a-
great story.
Yeah. And it sounds like, I feel like for the internet tidbit, they, it's like 2 sentences, but they're probably in the same industry. I wonder if you're over drinks, you see people, if you're doing production, all the film people know each other.
Yeah. There's probably little secret production bars and restaurants that people are going to.
That's the thing that's so funny to me about like rap beefs and stuff like that, and then industry beefs, is that people a lot of times will fight, but because the entertainment industry, it's like, you guys probably share a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like you're like, "I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
I'll see you at Michael Shadowitz's office." Like, it's like you all know each other.
Oh, man. Also, we briefly talked about this before, but this is, adjusted for inflation, the most profitable film of all time.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I think it was surpassed, I think, only in like scale, like inflation scale, by what was the movie that surpassed it? It was like after 14 years.
That's insane.
So most profitable. So you're looking at the expenses of making the movie.
Yeah.
Out of the revenue of the movie.
It made $5 million. It made 368 million.
And it cost $5 million
cost
to
$5
make.
million.
Yeah.
Why did a movie like this cost so little to make?
That's a good. Well, I think it was possibly because it was her. Like, I think it wasn't like a huge bet on a star because she was kind of unknown at the time.
So you're not paying the big star.
Yeah. I think they're like an indie film. Like, we make it for 5, we make 20. Like,
Yeah.
that's $20 million.
Yeah.
And it said it's the longest. Basically, it was never. This is what it says. It never hit number 1.
Mm-hmm.
It was just in theaters for a super long time.
That's insane.
So it
That's
just like
awesome.
kept on staying there, and people probably just word of mouth.
So
just
it's-
like hung around for months.
Corbett
That's
was
so
probably
crazy.
the biggest star attached to that movie.
Yeah,
At the time,
probably.
do you think he got like a really good residual? Like, did you think he worked into his contract a nice bonus? Or do you think just industry standards?
I don't know.
It's weird to say, like, because I don't know fully how that stuff works. Like, I know that they get SAG, obviously, and then they get a signing fee. Like, I'll do it for this much. But like the classic example is Robert Downey Jr. from the Marvel movies, where he was just like, yeah, just pay me an equity based on whatever you're going to do in the future. And he's the one who's like won out huge. But I don't know if people do that all the time.
Goatsman tries to not give away too many points on the back end.
Goatsman herds his points like a herd of goats.
He's like, whoa! You're not going to come in here, do my big fat Greek wedding, and milk me for all my profits, okay?
I'm going to shepherd this deal. Okay. The movie that surpassed it was Sing, the animated movie Sing.
Have you guys seen that?
No.
It's actually very good.
Well, but the fact that you say that means that, like, of course, that's the one that did it. Because I think that's a movie where there's people that are like, look, I don't care about music. I don't care about animated movies. That's a good movie.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's like a killer movie that executives put together that are like, this is going to be
I feel like you've
crazy
said that about
financial success.
every anime movie that's come out recently. Like, you just love an animated movie.
Seen Trolls 2? Crazy.
Well, Sing, I took my niece to.
Mitchell's vs. the Machines, insane movie.
I haven't seen that. But Sing is about Matthew McConaughey like runs a broke down theater and they have like a talent show with like a pig and shit. It's like it's very.
It's kind of, isn't it kind of like it's
And they
like
all
what
sing
you
Elton John and like
they got all the rights.
It's perfect for you.
Yeah.
They made it for you.
It's kind of like the voice for cartoon characters,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's very good. I heard Sing 2 is horrible. Okay, so here's the other thing.
Yeah.
They made My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, which I don't think we're ever going to do on this podcast. So let's just
Who's in it? Same
people,
cast?
the same crew. The film is directed.
Same crew down to the art
That
department.
one they put $238 million to make, and it only made $5 million. So they're just net even on.
So listen, they made it for $18 million. Okay, so they were like, we're getting the nice Fage yogurt this time.
The good coffee.
we're getting the good coffee. How much do you think it made on an $18 million budget?
I mean, a movie like that just has to make money regardless. So I bet $100 million.
I would say 130 million.
$90 million
Wow, still a success.
in
Still a
2016.
major success.
Unless
5
we're
times
playing
its
Price
budget.
is Right. Then we're both out.
Gosh,
Should have guessed $1.
that's true.
28% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I don't think it was. But here's interesting. Audience gave it A-.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just shows like people love.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of what Corbett made, there was a lawsuit in Big Fat Greek Wedding 1, the original. The cast, with the exception of Vardalos, who had a separate deal. So she had a separate deal. Smart, because you wrote and produced the
Well,
thing.
just because it's a separate deal doesn't mean it's smart. She was paid completely in Kalamata olives. So
I still say smart. Big fan of Kalamata olives. But the cast...
Pitted or unpitted?
pitted.
Great deal.
Great deal. Great deal. You don't got to do the work to get those pits out. But the cast, with the exception of her, including Plato and Company, everyone but her sued the studio for their part of the profits, saying that Gold Circle Films was engaging in so-called Hollywood accounting practices.
Uh-oh.
You forget that we're on camera, Kevin.
Shit, we're on camera.
Kevin just made one of his jokes that he usually makes. Got to use the other angle for that joke. We need to have a thing.
Oopsie doopsie.
We need to have a thing that happens in the video podcast now that it's just like
It goes.
it's just a censored screen.
No,
It
the
needs to have a
color
pic-
bars.
You just have a picture of Kevin, like a cartoon picture of Kevin, just being like, ooh.
I was gonna say it's the picture of Carrie. It's a still shot of Carrie Bradshaw getting splashed by the bus. Like, it's just like censored.
So we're gonna do part 2 of My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Quick recap of where we're at. Let me pull my notes. Tula, is that her name?
Tula.
Tula is
so
old. So old. She's working
Fucking bitch daughter.
in her restaurant, and she's also working in the travel agency. And she just met Corbett, and they are now going out to dinner. So
On a first date.
on a first date.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna check that out. We're pretty excited about that. How y'all feeling about part 2?
Well, I think it's going to be good because I realize that the movie's called My Big Fat Greek Wedding. So the third act is going to be the wedding. We're not going to wait till the end for like them to be together. So I feel like Act 2.
Oh wait,
is
they get married?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea
Didn't
what
you
it's
say
about.
Joey Fatone?
I'm assuming.
Did you say Joey Fatone is gay in this movie?
Yeah, but I didn't mean sexual. I meant it's Joey Fatone. No, I'm kidding. I think he comes out in the movie.
Okay.
I've always heard that he's gay, and then I was like, I wonder in this movie, and I wonder if that's going to be a thing with the dad, or if I just made it up in my head at some point.
Yeah. That's funny.
I don't know. It seems like it would be.
I was
below
going
that
to-
dad's mind.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I was going to make the joke that Joey Fatone and Corbett get married.
That'd be sweet.
But I've belabored that point now. But what's funny is I do wonder I'm wasting time. We got to get to the movie. But I think there's something with her brother. I'm not saying comes out as gay, but there's something with the brother where it seems like he's this macho Greek guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want you to take a look at my art. I wonder if there's a subplot that's going to happen with the brother as well. I'm not saying he's going to come out,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
wonder if there's something that happens with the brother. I've seen the movie before. Long time ago. Clearly don't remember.
And you don't remember if Joey Fatone's gay or not?
I don't. I didn't remember he was in it.
Well, let's go ahead and watch the episode, or watch the second part of My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
My Big Fat Greek Middle Act.
I will say it is funny that Joey Fatone is the fat one of NSYNC, and his name's Fatone.
I mean,
it's just what it is.
that's true. All right, we'll be back. Hey, John, you're a busy guy, right?
Cory, I consider myself a fairly busy guy with a new baby here and a hit podcast.
Yeah.
Like X, Y, and Me.
Yeah, you are on X, Y, and Me multiple times in the morning, but you still want to eat, and you still want to eat good food, right?
You have to eat.
You got to eat good food, and that's why something like HelloFresh is so good and so convenient. You know, when you're with your co-host Carrie, Che Diaz, and whatever character Bobby Lee plays, you got to have something like HelloFresh, you know?
I'll tell you why I like HelloFresh. It's the pre-portioned ingredients. You know, like when you have like a really weird, like a star anise, and you don't want to buy like a large gallon-sized bottle of spice.
Nobody needs that.
HelloFresh sends you pre-portioned ingredients to your door, including farm fresh produce that arrives within a week. So you get all the convenience of delicious groceries without skimping on quality.
And we're also not just talking about boring food. We're talking about timeless classics and new hits. Things like a beef tenderloin and cheese fondue, a delicious meal that I'm sure Carrie was eating in Paris after she dumped Big's ashes off that bridge. I'm talking about miso shrimp and bacon ramen. Two great tastes that taste great together, all from HelloFresh. So go to HelloFresh.com/BradshawBoys16 and use the code BradshawBoys16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's Bradshaw Boys 16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts from HelloFresh.
That's right. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit.
Hello, taters. Later, taters.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding, directed by Joe Zwick. Everyone in the Portocalos family worries about Tula, played by Nina Vidalis. Still unmarried at 30 years old, she works at Dancing Zorba's, the Greek restaurant owned by her parents. After taking a job at her aunt's travel agency, she falls in love with Ian Miller, a teacher who's tall, handsome, and definitely not Greek, played by John Corbett. Tula isn't sure which will be more upsetting to her father,
that Ian is a foreigner or that he's a vegetarian. And now, back to the boys.
Wow.
And we're back.
Wow.
Part 2, My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yeah.
Lots of action in that one.
Act 2. It was popping.
A movable plot, for sure.
The love in this movie happened a lot faster than I thought. And I'm excited to explore this when we familiarize ourselves with romantic comedies, but it seems like, from what I know, most conflict in romantic comedies involves them falling in love with each other.
Yeah.
And the conflict of the two of them falling in love with each other, and probably ends with them together, where the second act in this movie, they fell in love very fast, so we can get to the conflict, which I'm assuming is going to be the family drama.
Yeah. I think that, I definitely think that's interesting. It occurred to me like this morning, and then I was like, oh, a lot of them aren't like that. A lot of them are like the airplane, run to the airplane is the last scene.
Yeah.
So I wonder if between acts 2 and 3, I wonder if act 2's going forward are sometimes going to be a little mushier, because this is very clear that it's like single, falling in love, wedding.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's like it's like, oh, we're falling in love, but the person's job got transferred.
Right.
Or something
right.
that's
Yeah.
not, that is like, how do we overcome this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think this is like a very clear conflict and very relatable. So I'm continuing to understand why this movie was so big, because you're like, oh man, there's not a movie like this. There's really not a movie that's like, there's not that many movies that are like this. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it also really points out the like leaving and cleaving of them like being a unit together, but then being like, because we're starting to see, you'll talk about this in a second in the plot, we're starting to see that it's mostly her family that's so big that they're like, we're a unit. Can our love overcome this?
Yeah.
But now we're also seeing his parents is like, oh, he comes from a different culture than she does. Even if his culture seems like a non-culture almost.
Yeah.
It's definitely a culture.
Do you think his parents demanded to see the amount of charitable contributions that she made to NPR before inviting her to the family circle?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the second act starts with them.
Aiden would be like, oh, I listen to Car Talk. And he's like, I don't do Car Talk. That's a little too racy for me.
No click, no clack.
The second act starts with them going out to dinner and falling in love with each other on the bridge. A lot of makeout scenes in cars. And then the first obstacle would be him kind of earning the trust of the father. The father is really resistant to Tula marrying a non-Greek. Great montage with like all the boyfriends that he tries to hook her up with. And then you see the brother. The brother's very supportive of him as well. And then he ends up getting baptized in the Greek church. Great line. I'm Greek now.
I'm Greek now.
I'm Greek now.
I'm Greek now.
And then meets her family at Easter, which is a great scene. A lot of energy. All the people are there. And it's revealed that he is a vegetarian, which was also some great comedic moments. And then the last thing we saw is her over at his parents' house starting to talk about the wedding. The North Shore Country Club is out of the picture because they got to do it in the Greek church. So, as I said, tons of stuff happened in that second act. And now I think we're probably going to get into wedding planning. But I don't know. Where do you want to start with the second act?
How much fun it used to be to make out in cars.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, we don't get to do that. You only get to do that in New York if you are making out in a taxi
in an Uber.
or in an Uber. And then you straddle the line of it being like appropriate and fun, or if you're just being a dirtbag to the person driving you around. If you're just kind of like, we're having a night and this is like this is just fun, and
I feel like you can make out without. I think like you can do any sort of making out without crossing the dirtbag territory, right?
I think you can. You know what I think is tougher now, though.
Hands coming into play is when it crosses.
If you're just doing a little smooching,
or whips when whips start coming into play.
Yeah,
whips,
totally.
chains,
Back of a
whistles,
cab,
yo-yos.
You can't get the whoosh, the proper.
My grandmother riding by on a bicycle, give me the finger, in a duck.
Kinky.
That's from Black Sheep.
But yeah, there's definitely. I think Ubers it will probably make it harder because taxis, there's the barrier. There's more of a thing of like, what are you doing back there? But it's like,
There's Jimmy Kimmel coming in with like a New York Minute.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Hey there.
Sandy Kenyon.
Yes.
Talking about movies. My favorite thing.
The
is
1 minute movie review.
Yeah.
John Corbett plays Ian in My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Chicago sets the scene for love.
You'll be dancing in the theater with dancing Zorbas.
So I say, go see My Big Fat Greek Wedding for a lovely time. Opa. I'm Sandy Kenyon, and this is the Movie Minute. The best part about his movie reviews is, and you can see it at the very end of those things, he just goes, for the Movie Minute, and they hang on the camera too long, and his eyes just go dead. He goes, for the Movie Minute.
Dude, we have to get Sandy Kenyon to
I
do
went
a
to a
1 minute
screening-
review of our podcast.
Our podcast. I went to a screening with him one time for some like screening for a show I was working on, and I had not eaten before, and so I went to Halal Guys and got a huge thing of halal food, and then I got to the theater and it was like a 20-seat press theater.
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
like, I can't eat this, and I just put it underneath my seat and never opened it. And he was just there talking about like, I don't know if I'm going to Cannes this year. I want to go see the screenings, but I'm not sure. And it was for the new Freddy Krueger movie. That's what we were there for.
Oh my
And he was
gosh.
reviewing it. Anyway, I tangent.
It's Sandy Kenyon. You
Sandy
got it.
Kenyon.
Well,
But yeah, a makeout, I think it's a little tougher when you're in someone's personal car in an Uber and you're just,
The other hard thing is when you're not in a car, when you go on a great date, but then you're walking, you're like, you don't want to get too close to the subway. Like you see people doing makeouts like right by the subway, and it's like you kind of got to stop before you get. You got to go midway through the block.
Yeah.
But then that's hard because you don't have a reason to stop. So then you have to be like, let's stop here and kiss, which I've done that before.
yeah.
But yeah, that's just a car is a prime thing.
Yeah.
So the first time they kissed, we all three of us noticed that the camera angle was really awkward for a first kiss in a romantic comedy.
They were kind of in the thirds, but it was still
I mean,
weird.
Corbett's got such big shoulders. I don't
Yeah.
know how you shoot around those. I think the cinematographer was like, I've never had to do this before. I don't even know how.
I worked
His
on a
head is so big.
We could not get around this damn shoulder.
Yeah. Exactly.
Goatsman, why'd you hire this guy?
But yeah, his shoulder like definitely blocks
A lot of the lip action.
lot of-
lip.
yeah.
You don't see much of it. I don't know.
yeah.
Well, that
They were also on a bridge, so maybe they were like were they filming from?
Maybe they had a crane.
They had a crane shot
They,
for
had
that.
they brought out the techno crane to shoot that kiss shot. That's where the bulk of the $5 million budget
Yeah.
went.
well,
that
single
kiss
shot.
it was
in that marina.
this is a compliment to the film and I guess it's just something that I noticed, but it's not meant to be a knock. But some of the charm of this movie is that this is not Meg Ryan and like they're not the A-list of rom-com people.
Right.
Like so it doesn't feel totally Hollywood but then in that moment, that first kiss did not feel like very erotic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or
it didn't.
very, very.
Well, I
there
feel like-
didn't feel a lot of
It was
chemistry.
a little clumsy.
And then the scene where they were like falling in love, kissing in the car was like this like Middle Eastern like market music.
Yeah, it was like.
There is a lot of.
I
There
thought
is
Samantha
a lot,
was gonna come out with like some sort of outfit on.
belly
Yeah.
dancing.
Yeah.
There is a lot of broad Middle Eastern Greek overtone stuff of this.
Yeah.
Which as someone who's not exceptionally schooled in Greek culture, I'm like, maybe it fits, but there's a lot of just like, a lot of sitar here that they're just like, it all fits.
Dude, the dad said the Greeks were writing philosophy, Corey, while your relatives were swinging from the trees.
That's true.
I mean, honestly, it's like.
What a sick burn.
That dad could get into so much trouble.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know this.
Oh.
This is the sanitized version. When the cameras are off,
This is the Windex version.
I will say, so the main conflict that we're at now, which I guess, John, you have the most experience with in-laws, and the in-law joke is like one of the oldest jokes around. It's just like, oh, my in-laws, you know. But everyone wants to think that love can overcome,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like what besides love do they connect on? Because a lot of life is spending time with other people's families.
Zorbas.
Being
They connect
different.
on dancing Zorbas. He loves going there
He does.
for some tzatziki,
Yeah.
and she's a seating hostess there.
That's
That's
where
a connection point.
I'm just wondering what besides pure attraction or what's the word?
Chemistry.
No, infatuation.
The Zaza Zoo.
The Zaza Zoo, yeah. It was like, geez, man, you guys better not revive this show in 12 years. It's just going to get worse.
That-
Just goes downhill after Zaza Zoo.
Zaza Zoo, I will say something I never got on board with.
Yeah.
I hate things.
What
like
is?
that.
I've never.
That's
Even,
in Sex and the
It's
City.
in Sex and the City
Oh.
where Carrie, there's a whole episode where she's like, but does it have the Zaza Zoo?
Jeez, were they doing that just to combat the Seinfeld? Yeah, what was Seinfeld?
Yada,
had that-
yada, yada.
Yada yada. I mean, there literally might have been a thing in the writers' room. It's like, we need our thing.
We need our
yada,
ours.
yada.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I just wonder, besides infatuation,
What are they connecting on?
What is bringing them together? And he said, John Corbett, Ian Miller said,
I mean,
I came alive when I met you.
Yeah.
well,
Yes.
we've seen his family,
Which is not
right?
true. I came alive when I saw you without glasses.
It is funny when he makes the connection.
But
and-
put yourself in his point of view. He's an only child. He came from pretty tight-lipped, waspy family who I imagine he has two cousins and that's it. Their family get-togethers are probably like pretty dry and pretty like stale and vanilla. And the idea of like even being a part of a vibrant, live, energetic family must be really appealing to him.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
yeah,
Like
that
I'm
is
sure
true.
when she like the things that are embarrassing for her, like my family owns, Zorba's, and then my cousins own the laundromat, and then my aunt owns the travel. Like that's probably like really exciting for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He does seem like as Corbett is, an affable guy who can kind of talk to anyone, but also stand his ground in who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even the conversation with their brother, who I was like, we had the conversation of like who's gay or who may be gay, and you said you found out Joey Fatone is in the sequel. So you don't find that out here. And the brother, I was like, are they setting him up for something? I think they're just setting him up to be like, he's not the stereotypical guy that they're bringing over to marry her. He's like actually like a loyal brother, but also like a sensitive guy who
A little
cares
bit crazy,
about her.
little
Crazy.
little wild card.
Yeah, a little wild card, but also
Great
like
lips.
great lips, handsome guy.
Very handsome.
Very handsome. But just like, I love you, you're my sister, I'm Greek, but I'm not your stereotypical Greek guy.
Yeah.
A little bit of subversion of masculinity in a very positive way.
We all legit checked in with each other when she said but when he's getting baptized, which it's like, just imagine, watch the movie, but it's like, just imagine fucking 6'7", like long hair. Like he literally, when people make the white Jesus joke,
running shorts.
yeah. He looks like Wasp Jesus.
He
And
does. He is Wasp Jesus.
And he's getting baptized for,
Hey, Pop-Tarts, I died for your sins.
hey, it's all wiped away, sweetie cakes. Wow, my grace for you is free. Okay, so
That where I am, you will also be. Isn't that pretty awesome?
so Aiden's looking straight up like hippie Jesus.
He is
Wait,
like the
first,
Jesus.
his name's not Aiden, it's Ian.
Ian.
Well, same thing.
He's Aiden.
He's I
He's
mean,
Aiden.
he could not be more Aiden.
This is also post Sex and the City, so he's so Aiden right
yeah.
now.
Oh, that's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah.
you're getting.
Do you think he's going to tell someone in their family to quit smoking? I just think it's gross.
Yeah,
I do think with the Jesus thing,
That sounded like Trump.
I
just think it's gross.
It's
the worst.
disgusting. My cigarettes are the best cigarettes. Better
Smoke Trump cigarettes.
Aiden cigarettes. They're
believe-
pathetic. They're pathetic. Look at their bad cigarettes.
can't
But my friends have the best cigarettes. They're fantastic, superb cigarettes.
She looks at him doing a huge jump for her. That's like a huge thing for him to be like, I'm showing you how much I love you. I'm doing this crazy, embarrassing, silly thing, and she's like, he's gonna find out. What does she say? Basically, like, he's gonna find out, and he's gonna leave me. I don't deserve this.
Yeah, something. Yeah, it's that he's gonna find out not that I'm not worth it, but
yeah.
yes,
that I'm not worth it.
I'm not worth all this.
And the brother like looks at her and says, "You are worth."
You are.
Yes.
This. That was a great scene.
That was a great scene.
And that was cool because that was like, that's when you're like, oh, okay. That was like a peek into everyone in your family's been obnoxious so far or like wacky.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, the first hint. Maybe the mom has a few moments.
Yeah.
But that was definitely like, oh, yeah, like they got each other's backs, which is cool.
Do you think there's going to be? Well, first of all, two things I want to address is when we watched the first part of this movie, we weren't sure if he knew she was the same person from Dancing Zorbas.
Yes.
It was confirmed that he didn't know when he asked her out on the date and
Yep.
discovered it. That wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it would be.
No.
It was kind of, and
I think it was a little like,
I know, and then she played it right. I thought she was gonna. I think in a normal rom-com, she would have lied about that.
Yes.
And that would have been the conflict.
yes.
Yeah.
And then he would have come back and she would have had to
Exactly.
frump it up again.
Exactly.
Whoa, that's so true.
That's what I
That
thought
is
was
where
going
the
to
conflict
happen.
happens in a normal rom-com, but instead she was like, my family owns that place, and immediately deflated all of the potential conflict, which
Yeah.
I felt, which is interesting.
There's something about like where we're going where, and this might be why it was such a big success, is that the relatableness is not madcap.
Yeah.
Oh no, I got to run around and make sure he doesn't find out the real me. The relatableness is like, we're in this together, but can we overcome the cultures of our families? And
Yeah.
is this person going to really love me for who I
Yeah.
am? It's like, that's what I think. Because then it's like everyone's family, and he says this, like everyone's family is a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if you don't come from some big crazy culture, like everyone's family by definition is its own culture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
And can you overcome each other's,
Yeah.
you know? And like, that's what we're seeing with him, is that his culture, as like boring and waspy as they are, it's still him.
Yeah.
Also, you were saying this, I think one thing about him, not only being an only child, but like they're both a little bit the black sheep in their own families. Like he didn't become a lawyer, he became
Yeah.
a teacher. She's the daughter that not only didn't get married, but kind of didn't want to get married.
And didn't fall in love with a Greek man.
Didn't fall in love with a Greek man, or like didn't want to get married, but you know, wasn't like, didn't fall in love with a Greek man, want to go to school. So they're kind of these two black sheep finding each other
Yeah.
and trying to
Totally.
figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
and I think you see that. I think that is their connection point.
Yeah,
I think that
so,
does
too.
make sense.
My question about the third act is like, is all of the conflict going to arise out of family drama, or do you think he's going to like look at him becoming Greek Orthodox, getting baptized, and going through any sort of regret for changing who he is? Or is that just going to be, you think so?
Well, I think he's going to have to. I think it would only be natural for somebody to go along with all this change and then not advocate for themselves. I think so far the caricatures that we have.
But is he going to do that to appease his parents, or because he's going to have a realization of what he wants?
I think their relationship hasn't had conflict yet, so I think they will have conflict, and I think that there will be maybe a humanization of his parents, because right now his parents are straight up, like we said, boring wasp. They're just sitting there like, would anybody like cheesecake?
Yeah,
Sweetheart, like it is.
Yeah.
But he's like, seems to love his parents.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to sit there like, hey, not just like, sorry, my parents are boring. Like
Yeah.
if she said your parents are boring, I think he'd be like, what? My father's a very successful financial analyst. Like what? You know?
You should hear him discuss tort law.
Yeah.
and he works at the Boys and Girls Clubs.
Yeah.
Do you?
Which one of them plays piano? There's a Steinway and Sons piano, and I was
Both.
like,
Probably.
yeah, they both.
They probably sit next to each other and
Do a
play
little duet.
and duet. Yeah,
I think
without
probably,
talking
like-
to each other at all.
Yeah, I think every,
Rachmaninoff or Tchaikovsky tonight, sweetheart.
I think every Christmas they have like a little too much port wine and they play Scott Joplin together, and it's like the most fun thing that happens the entire year.
It's like, oh my gosh, I feel so. I just want to go to a swing club.
Do you think, how much do you think we're gonna get a thing of his mom dancing like traditional Greek dance, doing opa and being like, oh, how do I?
dude.
And then she just loses it. It's like it's like rapping grandma.
100%.
in that thing.
100%.
That's his
I would
mom's gonna do
stake
that
so much of
1,000%.
everything I have on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think that'll be fun. I think that'll be a good. I think the wedding is going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah, the wedding's gonna be great.
So like, if the conflict So we have 30 minutes left. We have to have conflict and a really fun, ridiculous wedding. Like, how are they going to break this down? The conflict's got to come really fast and get resolved really fast.
Are they going to Greece? No,
No.
the wedding's going to be in her Greek Orthodox church.
She did a
with
movie.
that binder with her cousins like senior year pom poms.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
Well, that was another funny scene that was like a great comedic way to show their differences. That it's like she was showing them where the wedding's going to take place, and it's just like a Greek hall, and then she says to Aiden's parents, it's just like the Parthenon backdrop is removable. It's just like straight up.
Yeah.
Just imagine being Greek and just being like, the Parthenon stays up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
got to be so cheeseball.
I want to talk about the father, because the father is like the big hurdle in this second act. She, being 30 years old, is still kind of under his household. The father is really offended that Ian didn't ask him if he could date his daughter, and then the brother, the mother, and eventually Tula like convince him that it's okay, and he gets over it. My questions about like the father is, do you think that's still exists in like these large ethnic families, or do you think that's like more of a time of like the late 90s, early 2000 kind of thing, or is like it feels just differently now, and maybe that's because like social media and like because we're in our late 30s, early 40s, like dating just feels differently. I don't know.
I think part of it is there is a globalization that has happened in the past 10 years with social media, and everyone just knows more about other cultures than they did before. Like, I think this movie before was a look into like, this is what a crazy Greek family's like. And now it's like, Greek Twitter probably exists. Like there is like, you can find out, you just end up knowing things. It's like, we know even so much more about what's happening in Ukraine right now. Like, it's just easier to be more informed. But I do think, do you watch Rami, the Hulu show?
No.
It's about a traditional Muslim family, and there's so much of that stuff in there where it's like, it is like the parents are like, are you dating a good Muslim girl? And like the sister is super attractive young girl who's like is going to date some waspy guy, and it's like a huge thing where you would be like, you've never dated just like a dude, like a guy that's not, and it's like, I do that, all that to say, I think like Rami's a picture where like this does exist in a lot of cultures.
We're also in the New York bubble too.
We're also in the New York bubble,
surrounded
for sure.
by like
I feel like
everyone.
If we said, I don't know if that exists as much anymore, it'd be like, yeah, talk to some Indian friends.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
talk to some,
Yeah.
or talk to like what it would be like if you took like a nice waspy like liberal girl from Massachusetts to like your southern family that are like real conservative.
Totally.
That would still happen in the same way. That would be like, oh wow.
Also, just talk to that nice liberal girl from Massachusetts at a bar anytime that I've lived in New York and try to explain to her that I'm from the South, and her just be like, that must be hard. Be like, no, it's not.
It's not that hard. Yeah, I think I will say my assessment thus far, there's like some cheeseball elements to the movie, but I do feel like it deals with it's better than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
As a rom-com, it's not since it's an independent film, I thought it'd be maybe a little more artsy-fartsy, and I kind of like that it's a little more wacky-doo-doo-doo.
Yeah, it's like it's broad comedy straight ahead, like full mainstream.
Yeah. The
I hope we get an indie scene. What if we just get the most indie scene?
What would be like an indie scene in this movie that they could add in?
The dad goes downstairs and the whole room goes full like David Lynch. The whole thing turns blue, and then the mom is just there like dancing as dancing Zorba, and then Tula starts to speak, but she's speaking and Tula's just speaking backwards, and like Corbett's just standing there crying blood as white Jesus, and then it goes back to the movie.
That probably is what that guy. I will give the dad credit. It's always, I like that the dad isn't like fully villainous, because the actor's great.
Yeah.
Oh, he's fantastic.
He's very good.
The mom and the dad are like great actors. But it's like not to be overdramatic, but it's like it's hard to be a human.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
fucking you move here, you like do all this stuff for your family. It's like I think the past like 20 years, especially with like Tim Allen home improvement type things, it's like oh, like guys are so dumb. Being a dad is what an idiot. You know, and everybody loves Raymond and stuff. And I do think it's kind of interesting that it's like this is like a hardworking guy who gave his family everything, probably had a really hard life, and it's like it can be silly to see what he wants, and he does need to work through his own stuff of being like, listen, but it's like he's just like, I have these desires for what I thought my life would look like. Like I've seen that with when I went home, my dad was like, yeah,
His are a little bit more critical than that.
yeah,
His aren't just like, I want my daughter to be happy. His was, I don't want to educate my daughter.
yeah, that's what he.
I need to that's what will make her happy is if she's dumb and cooks and nothing else. And so it's like his aren't just like I want happiness for my daughter. He is imposing his negativity on what he thinks would make her happy, which is harming her.
That's true. That's him needing to process his stuff. Because there's the other side too. It's like that was a comment that's like that's why we shouldn't educate women, and it's like, like that's shocking when he says it, but I think it's part of him working through his own stuff, which you usually don't totally see. He's like an Archie Bunker character that's like he's trying to figure out his way in the world that's changing around him.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but
Which
would be hard.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, he
Especially
is
when you're trying to order salad and fucking order lamb and mass for your restaurant.
Dude, yeah. You go in a restaurant stockroom, like, it's a lot of planning.
Yeah,
A lot of
tzatziki
planning.
doesn't last too long. You gotta restock
Yeah.
that frequently.
Also, you got to get the best price on it. And, like, Cisco's screwing you over. Like, Cisco has a monopoly on this stuff. You know, it's tough. It's tough.
Check
to run
out
a
Gordon
restaurant.
Food Service for bulk food needs.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. Well, let's watch the final act.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch the final act. I'm predicting conflict right up at the top, with the wedding planning, fight, and then just a banger, like a good solid 15 minutes of pure joy at the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have a 5-minute-ish. We wake up in their new apartment in Chicago and everything's good. Like a little decompression, a little falling action, and then maybe a setup for a sequel. I wonder. Maybe not. I don't know if they did that at this point.
Yeah,
in time
I don't
with
think
movies.
they
I don't think they
would've
did.
known.
I think the sequel is just after this movie made $300 million.
Yeah.
They're just like, we got to do it again.
I want to bring up one more thing before we go, and this was a really astute observation, but I think Kevin made it. Corey, it might have been you. On the bridge,
astute?
when her personality shifts quite a bit. She's like very standoffish, kind of guarded, and then he's like pulling it out of her, and then the dam opens up, and she's just like, my family's like this, and this happens, and then I work at Dancing Zorbas, and my cousin's like this, and thanks, Kevin. So your 10:18 alarm to get out of bed, and Kevin was like, this is definitely pulled right from the One Woman Show. Like you can tell that was
Kevin.
scene
That wasn't me.
that they were like, we have to have this scene where she goes off on a monologue about her family.
Yeah.
But it played. It worked really well.
That would be One Woman Show to audience. Like, do you want to know why I can't date you?
Yeah.
Do you want to know why I can't date you?
Yeah.
Well, let's get my whole family in here.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, totally.
But that was a great scene. And then after that, she became a lot more likable, in my opinion. Like, I wasn't really getting what it was about her until then. And then I was like, oh, she's cool.
That's when her personality bloomed and blossomed. Go sign up for our Patreon.
Yeah. Check out our Patreon. We're going to be doing Clueless.
Clueless. We're doing other movies. So if you want more of us, go sign up for our Patreon.
That's right.
And
Videos.
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 Corey suggested
Special pods.
we are going to dress up like different characters from Sex and the City and start an OnlyFans.
Yes.
Yeah, you can watch Kevin panic as he shut off his 10:18 wake up alarm.
As he's dressed as the Catholic playwright that Miranda dated, and he's sweating, and you get to watch him take a shower for only $9.99 a month.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We love you, and we'll see you next week.
Later, taters.
Later.
The Bradshaw Boys stars Cory Cavin, Jon Sieber, and Kevin James Doyle. The show is produced by Jeremy L. Balin. For more information on the guys, check out their website at bradshawboys.com, on social media at The Bradshaw Boys, and if you see them in the street, tip your glass. Thanks for listening.